guys, I am Caleb with Nebraska Farm Boy. Thanks for joining me on another edition of Farm Boy in 30 Minutes. Yes, we will be moving on with the show in just a minute, but first we need to talk about modesty. Now, what do I have to say about modesty? Not a lot. I mean, a lot of it's up to personal conviction. However, I will say this much. You do need to wear clothes. You know, no shoes, no shirt, no service, right? Well, actually, I could care less if you wear shoes, but a shirt is important. You can now buy really cool Nebraska Farm Boy apparel shirts at nebraskafarmboy.com. See where I'm going with this? You know, I always felt like that saying, or the phrase, no shoes, no shirt, no service, always forgot the most important article of clothing, which comes in between the shoes and the shirt. It's not cool to not wear pants, man. I mean, I'm just saying. But I don't sell pants, so I guess it's not really applicable. So, I mean, no shoes, no shirt, no service. Actually, I don't sell shoes either, so no shirt, no service. I mean, you could wear a really long t-shirt. Anyways, we're gonna move on with the show. Yes, I am back. It has been a while. Unfortunately, I wasn't smart enough to make a post before I left and told you all that I was leaving. That way you would all have to feel sorry for yourselves because you didn't get Nebraska Farm Boy content for a whole month. As it was, I totally didn't even expect to be gone for a month, so I didn't make the post, and sadly, probably most of you didn't even notice that I was gone. I'm so sorry for you. I'm so sorry for me. Anyways, thank you for asking how my month went. It went very well. I hope your month went as well as mine did. Had a great 4th of July. Don't forget that, yes, our nation is not everything that it could be, but you still have a responsibility for your nation as a Christian patriot. By the way, we have awesome t-shirts available at nebraskafarmboy.com. Don't worry, it's not going to devolve into a total sales pitch. Yes, I have a product to sell. No, I don't expect you to buy it. Anyways, yeah, I had a great week, a great month. It was more than a week, right? You know, basically just, you know, doing the normal stuff, you know, farm chores, electrical stuff. Had a great opportunity to work in a house that was full of cat hair and clown figurines. Like whole glass cases full of clowns. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. Anyways, so yeah, all that aside, let's move on to happier topics. Well, what I want to talk about today was the idea of adventure. You know, a lot of times adventure is thought of as almost like a fantasy thing, as something that only happens in the books, only happens at some earlier point in history, when the reality is that's really not the definition of adventure. Of course, it really depends on your definition. If you're going to define it as that, then yeah, you're not going to have adventure because you don't live in an alternate reality. You live in this reality, right? But if you want to live up to the ultimate standard of this reality, which is the only reality, or well, okay, is that fair to say? It's the only reality that you live in. Anyways, it's the only. So, if you want to live up to the full standard of that, then I do believe that there can be adventure if you're willing to accept the definition of adventure, of true adventure. Now, you know, what made me think of all this was a senior sketch that I read a couple years ago. It was of this kid, well, at that time, he's probably like 2 years older than me because I was reading a senior sketch and I was probably like 15 at the time, so yeah, probably 3 years older than me. Anyways, so this kid, you know, it went through the different questions, you know, what did he want to do? What was his ultimate goal in life? His ultimate goal in life, I think, was something like be happy and successful. Or that's what most of them are, right? You know, what did he like to do in his free time? He liked to play video games, and I think he liked to play the guitar. Nothing wrong with playing the guitar, or not even necessarily anything wrong with playing video games. However, I found it very telling that the final question, which asked, what is something that most people don't know about you? He said, I long for adventure. Now, here's this kid who has like shoulder length, well, it was like more than shoulder length hair. He looks like he's never been off of his couch, which I'm sure he is because he was graduating, and good for him. But you know, it's just, and I'm like, you long for adventure? And, you know, it was kind of funny at first, you know, but then I got to thinking, you know, that's really kind of sad because that really is the heart cry of every young man. Every young man longs for adventure, and they don't get it because it's completely been pulled out of the culture, and it's been replaced by a syntheticized adventure. Now, before we get any further, I want to define adventure. Okay, what is adventure? Now, a lot of times we like to think of adventure in terms of, you know, kind of a general, or like we like to think of it in terms of like a certain thing. Like adventure is finding hidden treasure, or adventure is slaying dragons and rescuing damsels in distress, or adventure is going through the Amazon. That's really, and that's kind of true, and it really depends on how you're going to define this, right? But in my opinion, the definition of adventure is doing incredibly hard things that are incredibly painful, and so much so that you think you are going to die, and still living through, and still living to tell about it, and coming through a stronger and better man. That is my definition of adventure. I mean, really, what is more adventurous than that? Isn't that what really draws young men? Like, why do we, as young men, enjoy reading about the incredible feats that men do in battle, or the incredible danger that men face as they travel through uncharted territory? Or why is that what always makes up adventure? Because it is adventure. Because that's what adventure truly is. Adventure truly is incredibly hard work, and it's incredibly dangerous. But it's so rewarding, because that's what God created man to do. That is God's calling for men, and it's the calling of young men. And something that you've got to realize now is that adventure is really, really terrible to live through. It's not fun. It's not fun to be in the middle of an adventure, because usually that means that you are in a lot of pain. You are having a lot of struggles. You are probably feeling really, really irritated going through that adventure. But that's not what you remember at the end of that. What you see at the end of that is the results of that adventure, how that adventure made you a stronger, better man, how that adventure, how you faced near death, and yet you still overcame that. And so if you want to live a life that is full of adventure, you first have to be able and willing to embrace the reality of adventure, which is that adventure is hard work, that adventure is dangerous, that adventure is uncomfortable. And until you can embrace that reality, you can never live an adventurous life. And here's the problem. Most of us have had that adventure taken away from us, and it was replaced by synthetic adventure. And what I mean is this: video games and blockbusters and everything else, like superhero story. Why are young men drawn to superheroes? Okay, I'm not saying there's anything necessarily wrong with superheroes. I don't personally find anything necessarily right with them, but why are young men drawn to superheroes? Because they can do incredible things. They can swing from walls. They can knock people out without touching them, or whatever else they're gonna do. Superheroes can do incredible things. Here's the problem: it's not real. It's fake. You can never be a superhero, ever. You're never gonna be Spider-Man. You're never gonna be Superman. No matter how hard you work, you can never be a superhero. And so it kills you. It kills it feeds your desire for adventure. It feeds your desire for something greater. And then it kills you, because you can never be that. And I'm not saying that there's necessarily anything wrong with liking superheroes or watching superhero movies or anything like that, but I'm saying that if you are not extremely careful, you will kill any chance that you have at adventure with that, because you aren't living in reality. You're living in an alternate reality. And that goes for anything. That goes for video games, where you are maybe you're young men tend to like more war-themed video games. Personally, I understand that. I understand why they would like that, because young men are called to be protectors. They're called to fight. They're called to fight for a good cause. And since there's no option for that, since that's completely discouraged in our culture, they have nowhere to turn to but video games. The problem is, video games allow you to feel like you did something, when the reality is, you did nothing. I know that sounds harsh, but you did nothing. Absolutely nothing. And again, okay, let me backtrack a little bit, because I don't want to rail at you and sound like I'm all better than you, right? Because I do this myself. With books, with hey, I've played video games before. I choose not to anymore, because it's just a distraction I don't think I need. But I'm not saying that you can't play video games. I'm not saying you can't like superheroes. The problem is, you must be very, very intentional to live an adventure yourself, to be such a man that you can force yourself to do incredibly hard things. and live out that adventure. And here's what, and it just has to be, we have to be very, very careful of this in today's day and age, because the reality is, God created men to be protectors. Did you know that God commanded the man to be a protector before he commanded, okay, a lot of people think that the first command that God gave to humans was to be fruitful and multiply. Okay, that was close. It's actually not. That's not the first command that God gave to Adam. The first command that God gave to Adam was before Eve was even created. He gave the man a garden, and he commanded him to work it and to keep it. So there's two things that God commanded men to do: to work and to protect. You say, how did I get protect out of that? Because the word keep is the exact same Hebrew word that is used of the angel who was to guard the tree of life. The tree of life. So basically, that same word, keep, is the same word for both. The man was called to keep the garden, and the angel was called to protect the tree of life. He did that with a flaming sword, right? The man was called to protect the garden. And so actually, the original sin was not eating the apple, or I shouldn't say that, because you guys are going to get on me. It wasn't an apple. The Bible doesn't say it was an apple. It was not eating the forbidden fruit, okay? It was actually the man failing to protect his wife, because the man had been given a mandate to protect. Even in a perfect world, the man was given a mandate to protect, and he was called to protect his wife. And so what he should have done was he should have protected his wife from the serpent, but he did not. And that's what the first sin actually was the man's failure to protect. The man was put in the garden to work and to protect. And that is the essence of adventure. You are called to work, and you're called to protect. And here's the practical aspect of all of this. So what does it look like to live life as an adventure? Does it mean that we're going to, too often, again, to go back just a little bit to what I was talking about, too often we think of it in terms of something. Like we're going to go to the Amazon to have an adventure, or we're going to slay a dragon to have an adventure. When the reality is, adventure really is what you make it, to be honest with you. Because adventure, it doesn't matter what kind of adventure it is, it's not going to be fun at the time. It really is, adventure is really made by how you live up to adversity. When a challenge arises, are you going to rise to the challenge? Are you going to rise to the occasion, or are you going to sink and shrink back from that occasion, shrink back from that challenge? Because men who live as an adventure, and all the adventures I've ever had in my life, has always come from rising to a challenge. Has always come when something stands up between the truth and all that is right, good and right and true. It stands between me and that. It's rising to the challenge and overcoming that, and that is really true adventure. Let me get back to the idea of slaying dragons and rescuing damsels in distress. Why is that a trope that has lasted throughout thousands of years of history? Because that's the calling of men. Did you know that there is hundreds of thousands of damsels in distress out there, and there is one who is waiting for you to stop sitting on your couch, get off of your couch, and to live a life that is actually worth dying for, and be a man, so that you can actually rescue that damsel in distress. She's your future wife, just so you know. She's waiting for you to actually man up and be a man. There are, it's disgusting how many, it's just like, you want an adventure, and there's plenty of adventure out there, but you're too lazy to take it, okay? And the reason I'm talking like this, the reason I'm talking so harsh is because this is exactly what I need to hear. This is exactly what I needed to hear when I was younger. It's exactly what I need to hear now. This is what needs to drive me, and it's what needs to drive you as well. If you want to live an adventure, work for it, fight for it. It's not going to just come to you. It's not going to be easy, because if it was easy, it's not an adventure and everybody would do it. No. Adventure is only special because it's incredibly hard. It's incredibly difficult, and it will tax you to your very core. It will test you beyond your limits, beyond what you thought were your limits, and it will irritate you in the ways that you never thought you would be irritated, and it will come in ways that you never thought it would come. I'm telling you, the adventure starts small. It's not the big adventure first. You have to be faithful in the small things before you can be entrusted with the larger things. I always, cat. I have an annoying cat. It's not an adventure, it's an annoying cat. So anyway, so like, I guess you could say that adventure is another word for responsibility. You know, if you claim your responsibility, it's going to be far better off for you. It's going to be far more, your life's going to be far more exciting. If you just stop fighting your responsibility and just claim your responsibility and you live for a calling, you live to love selflessly, to serve, or no, to love unconditionally, serve selflessly, and to protect with your very life. If you live for that, if you just give up and you just live for that, and you just stand in defense of God, family, country, and you just devote your life to that, you can't help but live an adventure. I'm just saying, like, I know that sounds really cheesy, it sounds really cheap, but that really is what transformed my life at the age of 14 years old. That really is the essence of what makes me a man. It's what drives me as a man, and it really is what made every man a man. It's fulfilling their God-given calling, and, you know, getting cat-like reflexes so that their jugular isn't cut by angry kittens. Anyways, so that's what I've got for you guys today. Hopefully, maybe that inspired some of you. Hopefully, you won't just listen to this and go off and continue on your merry way. Maybe this will be a wake-up call. Maybe you'll start living your life as a grand adventure because it's really worth it. That's my opinion anyway. So, I guess without any further ado, we will see you next time. Yes, it is legitimately a we because there's a cat here. It's not my cat, though. You can have it if you want. Have a cat. Okay? I'd give it to you if I could. Like, honestly. But I can't. So, it's because it's not my cat.